Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Marianne Petrie. This episode of Slam the Gavel is sponsored by CPS Protect Consulting Services. A child protective services case is one of the most frightening experiences for any parent. Don't face it alone. Face it with confidence with Urgent Assist. By CPS Protect, you can have access to former CPS investigators to make sure you preserve your rights and protect your family. If you're facing CPS involvement and aren't sure where to turn, their child welfare consultants can help you. Visit cpsprotect.com/subscribe and enter the coupon code SLAMTHEGAVEL for 60% off your first year of Urgent Assist. And this is available in all 50 states. I have another announcement. Bradley's mother, Narcissa Golan, passed away in the fall of 2022. Bradley is autistic and needs structured routine and therapies he receives for his autism 6 days a week. However, Italy just entrusted Bradley to the Italian Social Services. If he is ruled to go back, he will face the next 3 to 4 years in the Italian foster care system, where he can't speak or understand the language. He will then be taken away from the only family he has ever known. Please call Governor Hochul, New York State, 518-474-8390. That's Governor Hochul, 518-474-8390 to please keep Bradley here safe in these United States. Hashtag keep Bradley safe. One last announcement. Go to the site, pleasedoyourjob.com. That's www.pleasedoyourjob.com. We need 2,500 more signatures to get a case open. I have a brand new guest on. I'm so happy to have my friend Bill Corbitt on. He is a distinguished United States Air Force veteran, former federal agent, and visionary CEO behind Veterans Fathers, which is veteransfathers.com, a renowned 501c3 nonprofit organization with the impressive track record spanning over 35 years as a digital forensic investigator. Bill is widely recognized as a leading expert in the field, with his expertise often called upon in courtrooms. In partnership with dedicated team of both fathers and mothers, Bill Corbitt has founded Veterans Fathers with a powerful mission to bring accountability to judges, attorneys, and officers of the court who engage in blatant violations of civil rights and the law within the complex realm of family court and child custody cases. Veterans Fathers is not just an organization, they're starting to become a force for change, committing to upholding justice and safeguarding the rights of parents and children alike. With Bill Corbitt at the helm, that team is poised to make a lasting impact in our pursuit of justice, legal accountability, and a brighter future for families navigating the complexities of the legal system. So join us on our mission to ensure fairness and accountability within the legal system, and together we can shape a brighter and more just future for our families across the nation, because veterans have a very hard time in these court systems navigating through it. And I totally welcome you, Bill Corbitt, and thank you for your service.
Thank you for having me. It's been a good long time. We've been talking a lot.
Oh, yes, we have. Definitely. I'm so glad to have you on. And, so what got you going on starting veteranfathers.com?
Well, I went through a bad divorce, but as a federal agent, I understood the proper application of law. I understood basic evidentiary procedure. And when we were going through it, I remember having a conversation with my divorce attorney, and I said, I don't understand this stuff. I said, what the hell's going on? She can't make an allegation and not have evidence to support it. And what she put together is all contrived. And my attorney looked at me and said, Bill, you need to understand, this is not civil court and this is not criminal court. And I almost lost my morals. I said, look, it says right here under statute, this is a civil court matter. She goes, no. It's a set aside. And it took me forever to get my head wrapped around this. I call it a bastardization of law, in which it is.
Mm-hmm.
And it's considered a court of equity. Essentially, everybody shows up, everybody tells the truth, quick administration, everybody's out the door. That never happens. But they don't have a separate set of laws. They have established laws as well as the guidelines under established law they have to follow, which means they have to follow the laws of evidentiary procedure. They have to follow the laws of civil and criminal law too. They can't pick and choose their law or pick and choose how they're going to administer the law. The law is the law. That's very definitive. And, you know, I just, you know, and when you come out of depression, and I was in really dark areas, I came into what I call my warrior mode. And as a veteran, you're taught how to handle high stress situations. And when in doubt, you fall back on your training. Well, there's no training about family law or child custody, family court, being falsely accused of just stuff. You don't know how to, you don't know what to do.
No.
So I started asking questions, went to veterans groups, was going to Kiwanis Club. You know, I just sat in the wings off in the corner and took a break, or maybe beforehand, just pressing the flesh, asking questions. You know, how did you go through a divorce? Or you did? How many? It was horrible. All the guys, it was horrible. I can't believe what happened to me. And oh my God. And I'm so glad it's over. But I'm, you know, financially distressed. And then the veteran groups were pointing to veterans. He ended up homeless from this. He lost his benefits. I went, wait a minute. He lost his benefits? I did too. Like, the VA tells us it's protected. It's not. That's a biggest line of crap that really aggravates me. But so through these conversations and over a period of 5 years, I put together an ad hoc team of researchers. I know people in the IT industry, big data analysts, macroeconomists, and they volunteered their time. We started putting together a bunch of research, demographics, macroeconomic research, and a couple, and at least one paralegal. The second one would jump in occasionally, would give us some case law examples, stuff we'd ask. We'd meet on Zoom once a week, and we'd meet as a group once a month, and we started finding stuff that was really shocking. The courts weren't following any format of law. The courts were, and our research was very definitive. They were targeting veterans, and I couldn't figure out why. And we still have opinion. We don't have any firm evidence as to why we believe they're targeting veterans. But we did additional research. We dug through. We said, okay, what's out there? So we got involved. We started educating ourselves. We just didn't know. We bumped into MGTOW. We bumped in Red Pill, and we bumped into MRAs and FRAs, and just gobbling up data and input and what the message traffic was, not sitting in the wings, not doing anything. We hadn't even formed the nonprofit yet. And we met and we started doing research on how long have fathers and men been requesting equal rights. And we went as far back as, like, I think it's 125 years, but I always say 120 years that's been taking place, but nothing's changed. And I went, so we've been asking for equal rights under the law, specific protections, we being men, specific protections, and have gotten none. Why? What are we doing different that the feminist movement has done better? And there's activist groups out there. There's, you know, if you look at the women's suffrage movement, and I'll get into that in a minute, they protested, men don't protest. Like, well, okay, that's a gap. And then I got kind of frustrated one day about what was going on with my case, some other matters. I had to file Chapter 7. And here's where people, and I've had this comment, I heard this comment, you make 6 figures a year. What are you doing? How are you so mismanaging money? Did you file Chapter 7? Okay, number one, let me explain to you this way. You can do what's called a Chapter 13 filing. Doesn't require the courts or attorneys or accountants to go through your finances with a fine-tooth comb. And they'll put you on a payment plan, and inside of 5 years, if you're a good person, whether you paid it down or not, the judge waive it. For you to file Chapter 7, you have to go through they will run a fine-tooth comb through all of your finances, all of them. And they will look at you and they will say, you are just mismanaging money. We can't file chapter 7 because you can pay this off. We're going to bump you down to chapter 13. The courts will literally make that determination based on all your financial filings. But if you've been administered against unfairly, like I was in family court with all the debt and everything that came with it, there was no way I could pay it. Make it 6 figures a year. And what I got soaked with child custody and alimony, and even though she lied her way through court and got everything she wanted, damn well nearly put me in prison on false allegations. And then I got soaked with all the debt. The court just literally, the bankruptcy judge, I'll never forget what he said. He said, Mr. Corbitt, how much do you make? And I told him. He goes, I cannot believe how much you're paying in alimony and child support. Are these numbers correct? I went, yes, sir. That's why I saved money, and I hired a chapter 7 attorney to represent me to alleviate any questions the court may have on this, because it's a legal representation of the dollar figures in spreadsheets. And he goes, and he just literally said, I can't believe how much you're paying in child support and alimony. Now, a bankruptcy judge sees 10 to 20 bankruptcies a week. From all walks of life, from people that are very low income to millionaires filing for chapter bankruptcy. For him to say that, and he sees thousands of these a year, that gives, and everybody goes, well, how can the courts do that to you? It's back into why we formed the 501. One day I got mad and I said, we just need to sue the shit out of them, meaning the officers of the court. And we broke and we come back together on a Zoom session. I said, okay, guys, what's the research showing us? What have the men not done? And one of the researchers said, Bill, you said it. And I said, well, I say a lot of crazy shit. What did I say? And he said, you said it. We need to sue them. Men are not suing. Men are not litigating. And I went, it can't be that obvious. They're like, oh, yeah, it's that obvious. Well, we had mapped over 500 cases over the last 35 years that are directly or indirectly related to changes in law to support women, or changes in courtroom sentiment that supported women over men. And if you look at all the support groups for women, there are thousands of them for women for domestic violence, 2,000 domestic violence shelters for women, only 2 for men, millions, hundreds of millions of dollars from the U.S. government being paid into women's rights activist group, women's rights nonprofits, not $1 to men's groups. Well, the reason why is we're the first. We're the first. But also, too, we're the only nonprofit that I'm aware of that set up specifically to litigate against the courts. And 2 ladies out there to listen to this, and Marianne, she'll say this is true. It's not about men against women. It's not about that. It's not about we want equal rights, which means we take rights away from women. No, we don't. We just want the same rights and same respect that's codified under law that you have. And we want them specifically identified for fathers and men, just like women do. Women have the Women's Bill of Rights. We want the Men's Bill of Rights, and things like that. If you look them up, men are not even mentioned. Okay. By the Constitution, that's an illegal law. You can't have a law that's gender specific. So that's actually an illegal law, but it's being enforced. Okay. When you look at litigating with the courts, by our bylaws, I have to stay in a swim lane. My swim lane, it's called corporate governance, says I have to stay in there. I have to look after veteran fathers, and children. Do I help women? And you'll attest to this. I do. I really
Definitely.
do.
And I thank you for that.
But here's where I hear a lot of mothers out there complaining. So I've heard this from a couple of veteran mothers. Why don't you do something for veteran mothers? Well, that's not the formation of our 501. If you ladies want to start and do something that we're doing here at Veteran Fathers, call it, I don't know, Veteran Wives. I don't know what you want to call it. And do the same thing we're doing, I'll help you. I'll give you a copy of our bylaws. You can mimic them, and let's link arms and let's battle these courts. The problem is the courts. Okay. So when you take a look at the courts being the problem. How do you set up a litigation model and fight the courts? Well, we basically mimicked the bylaws and governance of the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union. And that's why the ACLU never gets sued, is they have their own attorneys. They have their own governance. They have their own funding from corporate entities as well as the U.S. government to fight for civil rights. But if you talk to any attorney out there, they'll tell you ACLU's lost their way. They don't fight for the rights of private citizens anymore. If that was the case, I wouldn't be here doing this. Veteran Fathers wouldn't be formed, and ACLU would be in here fighting this war. They don't care to. They don't want to. I've called them. Fathers have called them. I know mothers that have called them. They don't even give us a return phone call. So something has to be done, and it's going to require private citizens. So we started Veteran Fathers. The official name is the Foundation for the Parental Rights of Veteran Fathers. But Veteran Fathers is our website. And when we look at doing what we're going to do, we're approaching family court like a crime cartel, because it's what it is. It's a crime cartel.
Extortion racket.
Yeah, it's an extortion racket. We've got investigative reporter right now talking with a couple out of the Northeast that has evidence of, how can I say this, of a senior member in the executive branch of government who has direct knowledge of child trafficking going on in family courts. Boom. I told you I was going to drop a couple bombs on your show. I told you. Okay. So we're working with them. They have been in contact with the FBI, but the FBI is really not doing much pursuance to the evidence they have. They haven't exposed all the evidence to the FBI because they just don't trust the FBI. If you look, let's talk about that. So if you look at what's supposed to govern the courts, judges, attorneys, and officers of the court, the Department of Justice has strict governance over the courts. FBI is the investigative arm of the Department of Justice. FBI doesn't break wind in church unless DOJ tells them to.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. They can open a preliminary investigation, develop enough to open a full investigation, but they still have to put it in front of the United States Attorney's Office to determine whether they're going to pursue it through prosecution or not. If they decline it, they'll close the investigation down. Okay. Now, what are some of the things that the Department of Justice want to investigate? Child sexual cultivation, child pedophilia. Now, I've had a direct conversation with the Atlanta Field Office's director of Child Crimes Unit. And he can deny it all he wants. I got a recording of it, in which he specifically said he's there under direction from the Department of Justice not to investigate crimes against children if the child is 13 years of age or older. Boom. Second bomb. Okay. Now, where is that so significant? Do you remember the case with the women's Olympic girls gymnastics team? Most of those complaints came over to the DOJ when those little girls were 13 years of age and older. You remember the big press conference they had where the director of the DOJ apologized to the women's athletic team. Oh, we're sorry. Yes, we should have paid more attention to them. The reason why they didn't, and if someone here is listening to your podcast, member of the girls Olympic team, you have a federal class action suit, and I'll be more than happy to testify as an expert witness on your behalf under sworn direct testimony that there is a memorandum floating around within the Department of Justice that specifically says the FBI is not to investigate crimes against children that are older than 13 years of age. Boom.
That's terrible.
So that means federal subpoena action. That means everybody that signed that, everybody that acknowledged it, everybody that adhered to it can be brought up and prosecuted in a federal court of law and go to prison. So the girls U.S. Olympic team, you could actually sue the federal government for trillions because this has been going on for a while. So now you've got all these problems and complications in court and the proper conduct and administration of law. How do you fix it? DOJ doesn't care to fix it. They'll tell you, like I had crimes that she committed in family court. When I took it in front of the district attorney, he said, hey, that's family court. I don't want to get involved.
Right.
Like, you don't have a choice, dude. That's your freaking job.
They won't do it.
No, they won't. And so I said, private citizens have to. There's nothing stopping us. Now, let me explain that. Private citizens can wage lawfare. It's a trade term, so you can Google it. Lawfare, you can Google it and get your own definition. But private citizens can wage lawfare, and that's what we're going to do at Veteran Fathers. We're going to wage lawfare. We're going to sue deputy sheriffs, police officers, officers of the court, DFAC, CPS, agents of the court in abject poverty for the unlawful administration of law and violation of civil rights. From that, one of them is going to dime out an attorney. Now we're going to start suing attorneys in abject poverty. Attorneys and judges, they're just like the mafiosos.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to cut their neighbor's throat and dime out a neighbor just to make sure they save their own skin. They're snakes. Every last one of them are snakes. And when it hit me that they fit the mold, the FBI criteria of the crime cartel, I knew exactly what we had to do. We're going to follow the Department of Justice profile on how to dissolve a crime cartel, one step at a time, one lieutenant in the field at a time, one worker bee, one attorney, one judge at a time. We'll bankrupt one judicial district at a time, and we'll tear apart this sandcastle one grain of sand at a time. And pretty soon we'll start it with a squirt gun. Then we'll migrate to a water hose. Then we'll migrate to high pressure hoses and dissolve that sandbank down to nothing and let it go right down the sewer. Mm-hmm. And that's how it's done. And then we'll all be following the law. So, Veteran Fathers, we're going to litigate lawfare. All right. So what's the basic premise that makes any model successful? Well, one, you have to have a clear mission, direction, and goal that is obtainable and is measurable. Well, we got it. Just said it. The other thing is it's got to be duplicatable. Otherwise, it's a failed business model. Mm-hmm. Well, we got it. ACLU has affiliate offices set up in all 50 states and 4 U.S. territories. We are built on the same principles as the ACLU. So we can set up affiliate offices, but we can set them up globally. Mm-hmm. In every city, in every state, in every country on the planet. And here's why. What we're running into, the problems in family court, just isn't in America. It's in Canada, India, the UK, Japan, Brazil, Australia. I get calls or messages from parents, mothers and fathers from all over the globe talking about human rights violations. Yeah. Did I say that out loud? Human rights violations. Get ready for bomb number 3.
Okay. Yeah.
What's happening to parents in family court meets all the international criteria for 4 mandated standards violations of human rights, crimes against humanity, according to the international courts of law assembled under the United Nations. Boom. Mm-hmm. These judges, attorneys, and officers of the court can be brought up on international charges at The Hague. Boom. Yeah. We looked them up. We've had attorneys look them up, and they went, dude, don't leap your hat on that because we doubt anything's going to be done, but you're going to make a lot of people mad when you say that. I'm like, yeah, especially the ACLU. Mm-hmm. Because they've been internally corrupted. They don't care about human rights. They don't care about people, and they damn well don't care about parents. So if you people believe that, you're delusional. Please seek professional help, get on medication, maybe even consider self-initiating yourself into a confinement facility for observation because you are delusional. Yeah. The only way this will get fixed is private citizens. So when you look at private citizens taking action, there's areas you can get involved. What can we do to help? Okay. You can volunteer. Well, we don't know if we have a special skill set. We have a list of volunteer positions open. Well, we don't meet any of those. Okay, you can still be an internet sleuth. You can still go out there and gather dirt on these judges, attorneys, and officers of the court. You can still go out there and gather video evidence and stuff like that. Look through YouTube, start grinding away, get something, do something. Mm-hmm. You can donate. You can have a fundraiser. So we're actually listed on Give Fund Go. You can have a fundraiser, link to their site, look for us on their site, find us, link to it, everything, all the money you get in your fundraiser send it through Give Fund Go. It ends up in our funding account. You can get us listed in your corporate matching funds donations list for your company. Next year, we'll be listed in a Fortune 5 companies list for matching donations and funds. We checked, and I got confirmation today, Saturday. We got confirmation on Friday that from this Fortune 5 company, we are officially listed, and we're going to be listed in their matching funds for next year. Mm-hmm. So you can do that, but you can also take and get us exposure. Help us out. Help us break these algorithms. You know, instead of doing a like, do a like repost, do a like send, do a like share. Help us break the algorithms. Help us get outside of where the algorithms get us confined into. And then most importantly, look around. There's somebody in your community, someone in your church, someone in your social group that you know is a business owner, maybe looking for some tax 501 tax credits. Talk to them about giving us a donation. Maybe you know someone of means. Be like, hey, this is a good cause. They get a good mission. They're going to help kids.
Yeah.
It helps kids. It's not to help mom and daddy. If that's what you're looking at, you're very selfish. Very selfish. You're missing the long-term goal. Long-term goal is helping kids. So when you look at helping kids, we're the only model out there that can do it. Only model currently available that will be able to do that. Now, I forgot the young lady's name. I'm gonna shoot myself, but she started up. I forgot. She's on TikTok. She's on X, but she started up. I think it's called Kids on Parental Alienation. Kids that are victims of parental alienation or something like that. She's getting a lot of traction, and she saw one of my posts, and she hit me up, and she said, "I've never heard of the silver bullet. I've never heard of it. I watched your video, and oh my God, that's what happened to me and my daddy." Oh. So she was an alienated child. Her mother worked with cooperation of her attorney, her mother's attorney, lodged a silver bullet against the father, and the father never saw his daughter for 20 years. When the daughter finally figured out what's going on, she found her dad. And now, from my understanding, has very limited contact with her mother, and essentially the father's in her life right now. What the courts didn't understand when they started these abusive, unlawful tactics is this: they had no vision of the future. I do. And the vision of the future they missed is these children they started alienating and subjugating under parental alienation 20, 25 years ago are now adults. And they're figuring that shit out. And they're figuring out you violated federal law. And now that they're adults, they're starting to come together. I've said this before. I don't have to build an army. The courts have built my army for me.
Yes, yes.
I just need funding. Once we're properly funded, we're gonna pillage and burn. And we can't be stopped because the laws support everything we're doing. They don't support the courts. The attorneys we're speaking with at a very prominent law firm, they said, Bill, absolutely the best idea for 501 we've ever heard. We're totally on board. We'd love to help you out and support you legally, but you get an empty wallet. So what does that tell you? Attorneys know the corruption's going on. The American Bar Association, their own professional periodical, has published articles saying it's bad, but they don't care to fix it. Why? There's so much money in it. So how do you get the money out of it? You have to have a multi-pronged approach. Let me discuss that.
Okay.
Get the money out of the family court systems. I've heard figures from 70 billion a year to 700 billion a year. I don't know how much it is. To get it out, you have to create another business model to move that money into. We're it right here. We're the litigation business model, and the macroeconomists are coming back to me with $1 trillion a year business model. From a 70 billion to $1 trillion a year. The reason why is the ripple effect. You might want to sue one judge and get everything he owns, his kid's college fund, get a federal warrant, break open his irrevocable trust, get his retirement, get his boat, get his vacation property, get his house, get his life savings. That's just such a small grain of sand on the beach. Where it gets monstrous is as you start to get a judge looking at federal sentencing, guess what he's going to do? he's going to reach across the river to a legislator and ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
When he does, that's a violation of constitutional law, separation of powers. I now can start suing legislatures into abject poverty. I can now hold states directly accountable for the inappropriate and unlawful administration of law in violation of human rights, crimes against humanity. That ripple effect goes from one small stone in the water to a massive ripple across a calm pond that they can't control. And you can look up ripple effects on physics. You know, I have a math background. My father was a scientist, so I get it. And when you apply the ripple effect to our business model, that pebble in a calm pond, I'm a country boy.
Mm-hmm.
My father had a lake in the backyard, 28-acre lake. I used to love sometimes going out at night, totally calm, not even wind blowing, taking a rock and chunking it out as far as I could, and watching those ripples go all the way down to the very end of the lake. That's what ripple effect does. Once it starts, it's going to go everywhere, and it's going to suck everything in the middle. And that's the way the laws will take place. So we'll go from one deputy sheriff, one police officer, to a judge, to a judicial district, to multiple counties, to a state, to now we're in front of the Supreme Court. And that law firm I was referring to said, you have a couple of cases we'd like to take to the Supreme Court because we'd want to lose them in lower courts. We'd want the appeals, the appellate process, to honor the lower court's rulings. Excuse me, I had a cold.
That's okay.
And so I asked him, I said, why to go in front of the Supreme Court? That's like a $10-20 million lift. We have to go to specialized law firms. We have to position papers and all kinds of stuff from the Supremes just to get it heard. You know, why? And they said, because we'll win. And now that puts all 50 states and 4 U.S. territories in financial jeopardy. All 50 states and 4 U.S. territories in egregious financial jeopardy. Now, what'll happen theoretically is probably about the second or third state we send into financial default, the federal government will step up and say, this has got to stop. What will it take to stop it? And I'll just tell them, I want a special commission set up under Congress. I want a special commission set up under the Department of Justice with a special FBI task force assigned to it. I want private citizens to be in charge and act as oversight to it. And its sole purpose is to put judges in prison. That's its sole purpose and direction. Because when you start putting judges in prison, guess what they're going to do? Well, yeah, I was taking a kickback from this attorney in these law firms. Oh, yeah. Boom. Now you can sue a law firm in abject poverty. That's how this takes. That's that ripple effect. And unless you have that strategic vision to get out of your own pain zone and realize, I've got to fix this for children. And it's been going on 40 years. Well, why hasn't this group of young adults gotten together, got informed earlier? Social media. Social media is now at a place it wasn't 20 years ago. Social media has allowed connections to take place on a global footprint. These kids, this one girl, she's 29 years old, is out now bringing together other children who have been alienated through silver bullet tactics. My mom got hit with a silver bullet. My dad got hit with a silver bullet. What about this? And guess who else is coming forward? Adults in their 40s saying, I never met my father because my mother hit it with silver bullet. How do I help me find my father? I read the comment in her TikTok, a mother in her 40s saying this, and I'm like, 50 years. What we have thought in our research, this illegal violation of law, a violation of law and violation of human rights has been occurring in the United States and in family courts and now globally for over 50 years. And the legal profession, I hate to use that term, legal profession, they're a cult. They're a crime cartel because a profession fixes itself and they don't care to. There's too much money in it, which means they're a crime cartel. It's like we found a video online of a lady out of Williamson, Texas, Lucy Levy. At the time, she was assistant district attorney, teaching divorce attorneys how to levy a silver bullet. And she was asked the question during the Zoom session. Well, what if they perjure themselves on the stand? What's the remedy for it? Well, nothing outside of maybe suing and going back for attorney fees. Mm-hmm. Essentially, family court supports lying. Mm-hmm. And you can get away with it, and nothing will be done to you. Now, you men out there listening to you, let me be very careful. Am I recommending you lie to, you men and women out there listening? Am I recommending you lie? No. I cannot recommend that anyone willfully, with knowledge and forethought, go out of the way and violate law. Mm-hmm. But what I am saying is, if you're in a contentious divorce, they will lie and not have any fear of prosecution. Mm-mm. None.
Terrible.
Because the courts don't give a damn.
No.
And guess who gets hurt the worst? Kids. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Kids. So to the parents out there listening, and I really hope you do take this to heart. Stop. I understand you're in pain. Everybody that's gone through this has long-term pain. I get it. We've got to focus on the big picture, and that is we have got to litigate. We have got to put these judges, attorneys, and officers of the court in prison. We don't have a choice. So if I can put about 3 federal charges against my ex-wife on the back burner and not have to worry about it, we'll get to your case. Eventually we'll get to it. But without proper funding and support, it ain't going to happen. Mm-hmm. So if you would like to set it up in your own town, in your own city, get a hold of an attorney. You're going to need some funding initially to cover legal costs and hire a CPA firm, because you're going to need to set up a 501 in your state. Okay, mm-hmm. And we'll help you go through that process. Once you do that, to get listed as an affiliate, follow our bylaws and our construct. Get in touch with us. We'll send you over the affiliate criteria. Mm-hmm. You'll have to put everything together. You'll have to be interviewed by the board. And once you pass and get all the squares filled, we'll help you fill them. We'll say, okay, you're not going to pass because you need to do these things. Where it's not set up like you're going to show up for the test, fail the test. Here you go, you failed it. No, it's not that way. It's designed for success. So if you're not meeting the criteria, we'll say, okay, you've met 1, 2, and 3. You're missing 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and here's how you get 7, 8, 9, 10 filled to get an affiliate recognition and affiliation with our 501. We've got all the branding done. We've got all the logoing done. We've got all the marketing set. We've got all the bylaws set. We even got the website up. We'll put up a tab that'll list the state or the country, and you click on that hyperlink. It'll take you to the affiliate office information in your state or country, and they can get directly in touch with you. You don't even have to worry about a website. You have no worries. Business cards, we've got all the logoing and everything done. All you got to do is print your own business cards. Now, here's what's really great about affiliates. Once you're set up, you're autonomous. Mm-hmm. You only have to go through semi-annual, annual inspections with a home office. Okay. We make sure you're not stealing money. Make sure you're following the bylaws. We'll take a look at your casework and take a look at what you're doing for funding and donations and stuff like that. The other thing too, because you're anonymous, you're responsible for your own fundraisers in your state. You're responsible for your own grants and donations. Mm-hmm. But here's what's really great about affiliates. This is why the ACLU never gets sued. Is let's say we have an affiliate in Miami, Florida set up, and they get hit with a lawsuit. Then all the affiliates get on a phone. We listen to the criteria of the lawsuit, and then everybody pitches in support and money to help defend that lawsuit. But one office or 2 offices can't do it. But if we have 54 offices or more, mm-hmm. and we get on one phone call, they ain't going to sue us. They ain't going to touch us. I mean, what do they have to touch us for? Following the law? But it's going to happen. It's mm-hmm. going to happen. That's fine. Let it happen. We'll be such a big powerhouse that when a judge walks into a family law court, prior to sitting in that chair, sweat will run down the back of their legs, because they know somebody in there is watching for veteran fathers. And as soon as they apply the law unfairly or unequally, we'll sue them in abject poverty.
what if, well, I had Philip Simon on my podcast,
Right, right.
and he had to file bankruptcy
Yep.
right before Veterans Day.
Yeah, I talked to Philip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
see, Philip's got Philip just and here's where, I always tell men, just don't get married. Just don't do it. It's not worth it. It's too big of a financial risk until the laws change and we get protections. Just don't do it. If you're a relationship person, you can still get married.
Mhm.
Just don't sign the state document. You get married in the church. You can be committed to each other.
Mhm.
You don't sign the state documents. Don't do it. If you're in a what do they call it? Cohabitation state. Yeah, dude, move her out. Move her out before you hit that cohabitation time frame. Where common law state. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
common law state. When you hit that
the
common law
8
time
years.
frame,
Yeah.
move her out. Get her out because it's not worth the financial risk. You will lose everything. Trust me, you will lose everything. Talk to someone who's been there, who had everything, who has nothing now. Okay,
Mhm.
so understand you'll lose everything. The financial risk is too great. So in Philip's case, one, he's in a bad state, California.
Yeah. Yeah.
Two, his ex-wife's family set him up like a bitch. I mean, he
Mhm.
was running through the stuff, and while I was on the phone with him, I was talking to him. I said, Philip, do you think they set you up? He goes, without a doubt.
Mm.
Because men, if you look at it, and the research is out there, when men love, they love like with everything, like I did. I had implicit trust. I didn't have to watch my back. She had my back. I did stupid stuff like leaving my computers open. Well, she put a Trojan on, and now she can see everything I was doing. She read attorney-client privileged communications between myself and my client about strategy we were implementing. Because I'm like, how the hell is they implementing this when we just talked about this last night? And I went, oh my God, I got a Trojan on my computer. So I dug around and I found it. I'm like, son of a bitch. What a dumbass. But what men trust implicitly, we trust 1,000%. Guys, don't trust. Don't do it. Don't do it. Lock your computers down. Lock your iPhones down. Don't leave them laying on the table in the room. Don't do nothing like that because it will be used against you. Like in a relationship, you'll hear relationship counselors, they'll tell you, you have to set boundaries. Men are good at setting boundaries. Here's the fence line. You can walk up to the fence. You can touch the fence.
Mhm.
Don't go over the fence. Don't push the fence out. And we're good.
Mhm.
So I did that with her. She has a family that has very bad habits. And I said, when you show up to my house, I'm not going to put up with that shit.
Right.
Not in my damn house. I'm king of my damn house. I'm not going to put up with that. There's no reason they should behave that way as adults around other adults.
Mhm.
Number one. Number two, they don't know better and they show me no respect. They're going home. I have no problem. I've thrown people out of my house before without a problem. It doesn't bother me. And I
Mhm.
sleep well at night too. Because if they show up to disrespect me in my own house, just think about what they're going to do behind my back or in public. They're gone. I've physically thrown them out of my house before. It doesn't bother me. I have zero qualms about it. Well, that soon created a nickname for me among her family cult.
Mm.
That is, he's mean Uncle Bill. Really, what was I so mean for? Setting boundaries, expecting respect.
Mhm.
Oh, that creates me as mean Uncle Bill. The reason why is these women, her mother and her sister and her, were used to finding very submissive men that they could essentially cuckold.
Mm.
Okay, they're very submissive men. Her niece is married now to a very submissive man, and they're happy. She's happy. Well, he's miserable. I can tell. I can look at
Oh,
his face.
no.
I'm like, dude, you are living in misery. But poor old dude's. I think that's the best he's going to do, and she knows it, and she's just working that poor guy. I'm like, oh, dude, I feel sorry for you. But within her family, here's how bad their conduct is within their family.
Mhm.
I was working one night at when we were still married. I think it was even like a Wednesday or a Thursday. I don't remember. Knock on the door. I'm busy. I got my laptop, all my stuff spread around me. I'm doing a forensic analysis on something. She says, "Can you get the door?" I'm like, "I'm busy. Can you just go answer?" She was like, "We lived out from the city, out down a dirt road. There were neighbors, but not close."
Mhm.
She answered the door. She came back to me, and she was bleach white. And her eyes were huge. She goes, "There's a man at the door. He claims he's my father." I went, "What?"
Mhm.
Fangs come out, warrior face comes on, laptop goes to the side, and I'm going out that door like I am ready to beat the veneers out of this man's face. I
Mhm.
mean, I was borderline physical rage. And I got to the door and I said, "Who are you? What the fuck you doing here?" He goes, "I'm so and so. I had an affair with your wife's mother when her father was in Vietnam serving our country." And keep that. We're going to follow that here in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me that your wife Teresa was my daughter. I've got love notes we've exchanged and everything like this. And I'm reading this shit. I said, okay, number one, it doesn't bode well for you as a man. Screwing a man's wife when she was stationed at Pensacola while her husband's he was in the Navy, and her father, a decorated special operator out of Vietnam, who was a Congressional Medal of Honor nominee, apparently, she was cheating on him. Unprotected sex.
Mm-hmm.
The girls who were little daughters saw this. She told me later. Now that I think about it, I remember Mama bringing home men and would tell us to go to our bedrooms, go to bed, while her father's serving in Vietnam. Okay? Now remember that.
Mm-hmm.
They have 2 daughters, Tina and Teresa. Well, Nickel was a narcissist. Now, she wasn't professionally diagnosed, but everything I can tell, the way she behaved, she fits the mold of a narcissist. When you have a narcissist, you have a multi-child environment. Like, one child becomes the golden child.
Mm-hmm.
The other child has a choice in direction to either go empath route or go the narcissist route. The golden child will be cultivated into the narcissist. The golden child was my ex. Okay, now follow this model.
Mm-hmm.
The other child went, we'll just call her Ihe, went the direction of an empath, connected with the father better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, she goes in the Navy, marries a man in the Navy. While he's at sea, she hooks up and screws a barfly, gets pregnant, has an illegitimate bastard child.
Mm-hmm.
Husband returns home. "I'm pregnant. I'm sorry. I had an affair with this barfly who was also in the Navy." They got divorced. She ends up marrying the barfly, who ends up being a drunkard and an abuser, has a second child with a drunkard and abuser. And my ex talks to her sister and says, "Why? You had a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
He was a Christian man. He had his career set for him. He was going to get out of the Navy after doing 4 years, go to his hometown. His dad was sheriff there. He was going to be a deputy sheriff and maybe run for sheriff in the town. He had it set. What happened?" She goes, "Well, I wanted the height." What? Apparently this barfly was 6'3".
Oh.
Well, her sister's like 5'0".
Mm-hmm.
So she wanted the height. Well, it didn't work out too good. Both kids are under 5'7".
Oh.
So much with that science and philosophy, but still, she has an illegitimate child, a bastard child, and she married an abuser who was abusive to both kids. They eventually ended up divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Kids grew up not knowing that one of them, the oldest, is the bastard until recently. Well, where does the golden child go? Well, the golden child gets professionally diagnosed, and I married it, but I didn't find out until weeks before I asked for the divorce, as having narcissistic personality disorder. Mm-hmm. So you'll hear exes complain their ex is a narcissist. Okay, I'm different. I've seen the professional mental health diagnosis from a psychiatrist here in Atlanta that diagnosed my ex professionally as having narcissistic personality disorder. Mm-hmm. Now, there's different areas of that, but according to the mental health guidelines, they don't go into those areas. Mm-hmm. I personally feel she's a covert parasitic narcissist. I've read the definitive guide published by one of the top experts out of the field out of the UK, even talked to her on the phone. From the very first sentence to the very last sentence, my ex fit every single comment, statement, profile, everything to the very end of the book. Mm-hmm. And I just literally, I was so blown away because now it explained everything. It explained the gaslighting. It explained the trauma bonding. It explained everything, but it also explained flying monkeys. Mm-hmm. See, someone who's a narcissist has flying monkeys because they know they can manipulate them. And they now know that flying monkey is a fool. Mm-hmm. And they laugh at them. Think about that.
Mhm.
So these people out there that are flying monkeys supporting these people with narcissistic personality disorders, they already know they are mentally superior to them, they're emotionally superior to them, and they can manipulate them. Now, from that, they know you're a fool, and they will treat you foolishly. And when you're not looking, they will laugh at you behind your back. That's the way narcissist brain thinks. So when I went through my divorce and I read that book, I gobbled up everything I could about narcissistic personality disorders, and ended up getting hooked into two local mental health research groups here. One's in a well-known college here, and they asked me, as an advisor to the group, they asked me, it's like, what about narcissism that you've read about and gobbled up on is missing? And I said, you've over-researched men. There's no research on women. And they're the biggest group. So they went back. You're absolutely right. We've over-researched men, and there's little to no research on women. So guess what that PhD group is doing? And guess what they found? That it looks like women outrun men with narcissistic personality disorder almost to a rate of 2 to 1. Now, the research isn't out. It's not being published. I'm kind of giving you some insight into some of the figures they're bringing in.
Mhm.
And they've asked the question, why are women outpacing men? What has happened in the last 20 years that has caused women to outpace men with narcissistic personality disorders? Guess what it is? Social media. Social media. Women are reaching out into social media for self-gratification. Self-gratification is a predefined criteria for narcissistic personality disorders. And especially the young women in the demographic group 25 years of age or younger are heavily engaged in narcissistic personality disorders. And if you listen to Jordan Peterson, he has a clear definition of women who engage in excessive amounts of social media. And he places them well within the dark triad, if anything, Machiavellianism. And they have strong indications of psychopathy too. And if you read his studies, it'll open your eyes up and you're like, oh my God. And me, knowing I'm an empath, I'm a toxic empath. So the way the industry defines me is, and I've been this way my whole life, I'll literally give you the shirt off my back and I'll freeze to death. I'll do it to my own detriment. But now that I know that, what I've found out is narcs are drawn to me like a steel to magnet. And I'm like, okay, a narc is an abuser. Abusers sniff out victims. As an empath, a narc sees me as a victim, a future victim. Now that I know that I'm going to pretty much attract narcs. But here's the thing. I know how to trigger them. I know what to look for. I know the signs. And I love it. They come at me and I'm sitting there going, you have no clue. I've already got you pegged. And I'll say one or two things and they'll lose their minds.
What are they?
What are they?
Yeah.
No, they're narcissists, very narcissistic women.
Oh.
And when they lose their minds, I just back up real slowly. It's mainly on social media. I'll just back up real slowly and watch them self-destruct themselves. And I like watching this take place because I'm like, normally those two trigger events would not have worked on anybody. It would be like, yeah, so. But a narc, it sends them into rage. And that's what I love getting out of a narc is a rage event. If I get that rage event out of that narc, everybody now sees the narcissist because they can't hide it.
But what do you say to them to get them to that point?
It depends on the context of the conversation.
Oh, okay.
Context. Usually, if you're involved with a narc and they ping me on social media, they're a strong neo-Marxist or a strong feminist. And they don't, someone who's a strong neo-Marxist, especially along the feminist lines, they don't like facts, data, and evidence. They hate it. And all the current facts, data, and evidence, and I put it up on all my feeds, just say men are just not being dealt with as the victims we actually are. And they don't want to hear that. Well, then you start hammering them with facts, data, and evidence. And we've been doing research for 5 years, so I've got a terabyte of it. I can go through. I can hit them every day of the week and twice on Sunday, to the point where I get tired. But you hit them once, they get triggered immediately. And then they're masters of what I call debate manipulation. You got to be careful with a narc. Is they will. It's called a debate pivot. You'll be talking about ducks, and they'll say, yeah, but that duck ate that corn. You gave him that corn. That duck got sick. Where'd you get the corn? We were talking about ducks. Now you want to talk about corn. Okay, let's talk about corn. Yeah, that corn come from Iowa. That corn really should have come from Georgia. Oh, now we're talking about Georgia. See the pivots the narc puts in there to get you off of talking about the problem being the sick duck. So now you're arguing over corn from Georgia versus Iowa. That's what narcs are masters of. They're master manipulators, and they manipulate off of emotion. But if you trigger them, they're 100% pure emotion, and you got control of the conversation.
They're also perpetual liars.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why they hate facts, data, and evidence.
Right.
So if you use the facts, data, and evidence, they lose their gourd. They will have a it's literally it's a trade term from the mental health industry. It's called a narcissistic rage event. They will either rage physically, mentally, or emotionally. Okay, my ex raged all of them. She did all of them. I had physical assaults. At one time, she was raging so hard in her narc rage event, it went on for 4.5 hours. It went on for so long, I literally got up, went in the kitchen, fixed a bowl of ice cream, sat there. I got it recorded. I'm eating the ice cream, and she's still yelling. And I'm sitting there going, how can you yell for 4.5 hours and your voice not go hoarse? How can think about it? If a football game, you're yelling continuously for 4.5 hours, your voice is going to go sore. Your throat's going to get raw. Not a narc. Not a narc. Because the adrenalines and endorphins flood their brain so much, it compensates the body to allow the body to endurance this. So I'm eating ice cream, and she goes, how the hell can you eat ice cream right now? I'm like, I'm just waiting for you to get tired. We're now 4.5 hours into this. I'm hungry. It's time for fucking bed, and you're still going. And then she got up and started throwing her arms around, come over and slap me. And I'm like, trying not to spill the ice cream.
Oh, no.
Knowing what I know now, what did she just do? Assault and battery with attempt to do extreme physical harm. I should have dialed 911, had her arrested. But I grew up in a household where you always work through it. You always try. No matter how bad it gets, you're married and it's forever. I grew up Catholic.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
My father even told me that no matter how bad it gets. My first wife, when I divorced her, I was literally in tears talking to a friend of mine, and my friend of mine said, Bill, have you tried doing everything possible?
Oh.
And I went, yeah, I really did. He goes, then there's nothing left there. She doesn't respect you as a man. She's assaulted you 3 times. She talks bad about you behind your back to her family. Her family doesn't like you, or else her family would tell her to shut up. That's your husband. And they haven't told her to stop. Bill, there's nothing there. Leave. Now, a year after we divorced and left, she actually called me on. This is where I got to give her some credit. My first wife actually called me on the phone and said, you know what? I've gone through 1.5 years of counseling, and I just want to let you know the dissolution of our marriage is 100% my fault. It's all my fault. And I was so mad. I was like, because I look back on 13 years doing everything I could to get it to work and nothing working. I was so mad when she made that call. All I said was, okay, thank you for the phone call. Do you have closure now? She said, yes. I said, okay, thank you. Click. And I just hung the phone up.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm done. She didn't say, what can I do to help you heal? Because narcs won't do that. Narcs won't help anybody heal because they don't give a damn about you. She won't say, what will it take to help you heal, or have you healed? Is this going to create closure for you? What can I do? Because I did the damage. She admitted to it. I did the damage to you. You have scars. How can I help you heal? Narcs don't give a flying fuck about you.
No.
And the only reason why she's doing it is she's walking through the checklist. the healing checklist. You can't heal a narc. A narc has a brain abnormality, just like a pedophile. It affects both genders at equal rates. Pedophilia, there's female pedophiles, there's male pedophiles, there's female narcs, and there's male narcs. So it's a brain abnormality. It can't be healed. Only thing medication can do is subdue the effects of the narcissism. Okay. Case in point, my recent ex-wife, where everybody knows, I've been very open about this, professionally diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. She had to come off the medication to go through IVF because it impacted a child, which is why I believe she had multiple affairs while going through IVF. That alone is sick. It was so sick, she screwed a guy in her first trimester, contracted an STD that almost killed our child, and I got fucking blamed for it.
Oh.
Blamed her husband for it. Why? Because a narc doesn't want to get exposed. They will kill people around them so you don't expose them for what they have done. So if, as a mother, for all mothers listening, think about this. How much more emasculating can you do to any man in the world than to have an affair while pregnant with your husband's child in your belly in the first trimester, and a high-risk pregnancy in which they told us don't have sex. We don't want the fetus to abort. That's so nasty. He gives you an STD. Then to cover up the fact you fucked and sucked another man, let him raw dog inside of you, that you now blame your husband. What type of fucking monster does that? I'm asking you, mothers, what type of fucking monster does that? A narc. And if she did that to me, think about who she's going to deal with, how she's going to deal with people in her life professionally and personally, as well as what she's going to do to my daughter. Put that in fucking perspective. So sit in front of me and tell me, oh, I'm only for fathers. No, I want this evil dealt with in law. I want this evil dealt with in the courts. And these judges, attorneys, and officers of the court need prison.
Oh, yeah.
As I breathe my last breath, I will videotape a judge in processing in a Pelican Bay. You don't know what Pelican Bay is? Look it up. So for you mothers out there, and you're looking at a father who's scarred, gone through a bad divorce, yeah, it's very narcissistic of you to look at me and go, look how he's reacting. Why don't you look at the causation that caused me to be here in this chair, caused me to form this 501, caused me to do this. Stop being a narc and look at the causation. It's cause and effect. Look at what caused me to be here. I didn't want to be here. Family court put me here. A narc, abusive wife who tried to kill me, attempted murder, put me here because the courts refuse to this day for the proper administration of justice and law. And now my child's exposed to that abusive narc. Narcissistic cultivation of a child occurs, it starts at 2 years of age. Guess what she told me? I asked her for the divorce. She said, oh, I was going to divorce you anyway when Savannah, my daughter, turned 2. Why? Why did she pick 2 years of age? Because she knew she was going to start cultivating my daughter into being a narcissist. And she knew the cultivation had to start when Savannah was 2. My daughter has told me about men sleeping in her bed in a state of undress. Law enforcement won't do it. It's on my social media feed. It's on my Instagram feed. My daughter's talked about men exposing their penises to her. I got it all recorded, got it all submitted into law enforcement. They refuse to do anything. And in a court of law, it's called digital forensic evidence. But because a father submitted that his daughter's going through sexual abuse and cultivation, law refuses to take action. People, this is not about a dad. This is not about a mom. This is about a child. Law refuses to take action because dad filed the complaint. CPS called me and said, why didn't you call? And I said, you know why. And you know what she said on the phone? I didn't record it. All the damn things I never recorded this. She goes, yeah, you're a father. We wouldn't have taken it seriously.
Oh my God.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
If what I'm saying doesn't rip the guts out of you ladies, you may be a narcissist. I mean, seriously. Listening to my story, and my story's not as bad as some of the stories I've heard, if it doesn't rip your guts out, you might be a narcissist. Get professional help. Get on medication. Seriously. Now let's talk about narcissistic personality disorder in relationships real quick. How do you know you're dealing with a narc? I'm going to apply some country boy logic. It's not backed by science, fact, or reason. Just some country boy logic. Have you ever met that person? You could go out with them, maybe when you're younger, to a bar and they drink, they become a different person.
Mm-hmm.
That's a narc. That's an emblematic personality trait of a narc. And here's why. Alcohol lowers the inhibitions. It's what we call drops the firewall. Now you get to see who that person really is. Narcs maintain a firewall. You get them to drop that firewall, you see who that person really is. Me, I go out and I drink. I'm Mr. Lovey-dovey. Everyone's my fucking friend. I hug everybody. You're my brother. I want to have a good time. I don't go out and drink anymore at all, period. Mary, I don't even drink at all anymore. Why? Because I've seen people's personality change when they drink. I'm like, holy shit. You want to start a bar fight? And you want me to join in because I know how to fight? Dude, I come here to have a good time, have fun. Why else would you drink and not have fun? Well, that's country boy logic right there. I'm giving it to you right from deep South Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
If they change personalities and they change into a violent person, maybe they change into a promiscuous person, you're dealing with a mental disorder. That's one of the key identifiers because their inhibitions have dropped. And what you're seeing in a true identifier came out. Like my ex-wife. I totally forbid her to drink more than 2 glasses of wine ever when we went out. Why? I caught her flirting with men in front of me one time and I lost my shit.
Oh.
Now you talk about gaslighting? On the way home, she said, I don't see what your problem is. I don't see what the big deal is. I always leave with the man that brought me. You're my husband, blah, blah, blah. And I'm sitting there going, you just humiliated me in front of the whole fucking bar, lost your shit in front of a whole fucking bar because I caught you flirting with a guy. Remember, they don't want to be exposed.
Right.
And now I'm getting the gaslight going home. And I'm sitting there thinking, I got to reevaluate this. Oh, the next morning, oh, she was little Miss Angel and she was perfect. And I'm thinking, you could never drink. What I didn't realize is I had a job that called me to work 90, 120-hour weeks, travel 60, 90% of the month. When I leave, go out of town, she'd go out drinking in the bars and get laid. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. One of her pap smears, I didn't find this out until after I went through a divorce, and somebody's plugging in these social media feeds and heard about me doing my research, called me, used to work in one of the IVF clinics we went to. World-renowned IVF doctor. I made the mistake of not having her sign her HIPAA release to me. That was my mistake. Rule number 1, you're involved in a relationship, both parties sign a HIPAA release. You need to see all the dirt. Sign it, get it, and get access to those medical records. And if necessary, get the mental health waiver signed too. I didn't. I had total trust. One of the nurses in that office got a hold of me and said, do you remember going one time and the doctor said the reason you're not having kids is because you're using condoms? And I looked at the doctor like he was crazy. I'm like, we're not using condoms. We're trying to have kids. And he got real quiet and looked at her. And I looked at him and said, what did the pap smear show? And he opened her medical file and saw where the release wasn't signed.
Oh.
And he closed it. And she goes, it's probably just an anomaly in the pap smear. Don't worry about it. She said, Bill, the doctor found spermicide, the same spermicide resident in condoms in her pap smear. We're going through IVF. I'm working like a dog, 90, 120, 140-hour weeks, traveling
expensive.
60, 90% of the month, laying out 30 to 55 grand per IVF pop. Insurance doesn't pay for it. It has to be cash in hand. Okay. I'm working like a dog. You talk about a man that's devoted to a relationship, devoted to a family, who has a laser focus on a mission in life. You're looking at him. I'm that dude. But she knew that as a narc. She knew that when I left, when the cat's away, the mice play.
Oh.
Yeah. Fucking and sucking other dudes while going through 7 rounds of IVF. That's why we can never get pregnant, because you can't have sex in the first 6 months of the pregnancy when the zygote's transferred. It has to attach to the vaginal walls, and it's very unstable. She would go out and have sex just to dislodge it, so that way I'd be back on the grind again. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. And as a woman, you're listening to this, and you're not feel like your guts just left your body. that the courts refuse to hear any of this, refuse to hear any reason why. If 70% of the women out there file for divorce, now I'm part of the other percentage of men that file for divorce, where the divorce judge, not to look at me, Judge David Dick N. Son, Forsyth County, Georgia, not to look and go, wait a minute, he filed for divorce. Law averages said the woman should have filed, but he filed. I want to hear your story. Miscarriage of justice, no due process.
Mm-hmm.
Judge David Dickinson, Forsyth County Superior Court. I hope you hear me say this, because I'm going to work until my last breath to put you in prison. And if that means I have to get an exhumation order to dig your rotten, decaying corpse up and put a pike up your rump and stand you in front of a federal grand jury so your rotting, decaying corpse can listen to the charges against you, I will do that. I swear upon my father, dear father's sainted grave, I will do that. And here's why. The judges know they're violating laws, and they won't dare go back through their cases and go, you know what? I did wrong in this case. I need to fix it. That's a professional. Professionals do that.
Right.
Judges, attorneys, officers, the court won't, because they dare you as private citizens to do something. Because they know if they keep us segmented, go in these different directions, they're winning.
Mm-hmm.
If we come together under this banner at Veteran Fathers as a united front, I have an army. Give me the funding so I can wage lawfare against these courts, and we will change these courts. If we stay segmented, women doing their thing, men doing their thing, I mean, you guys are like herding wildcats. Holy shit. If we come together under this banner, we're the only one on earth right now. The only one that wants to wage lawfare against the courts. We want to. You get us the funding we need, I guarantee you, as I breathe my last breath, we'll start putting judges in prison.
Well, my husband plays the lottery all the time, and I always pray he wins, so I can show you some funding, you know, because I want everyone to be on the same side. I always tell people, don't, you know, just, you know, don't, you know, like, don't turn it into a gender war. Let's work together so we can get this fixed.
Yes. Here's the thing. And this challenge goes out to you ladies out there. And I mean this from the very depths of my heart. If you look at this organization, you say, oh, they're just for fathers, and you don't understand, I have corporate governance, swim lanes I have to stay in. And you want to do it you want to do something for mothers, for veteran mothers, or just mothers in general. And you want to follow our same format. Mm-hmm. What I said earlier, I really, truly mean. Contact me. I will help you get it set up. And here's why, guys. Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna hold you guys. I'm gonna be tough love right now on the men out there. You're lazy. Mm-hmm. We have a 6 to 8 month market lead on the women. I bet you when the women get their shit together, you guys get it organized, you do the same thing we're doing, you focus on these family courts, you're going to get more funding, more support, and you'll go further. But here's the danger, guys. At some point, as they advance in their power struggle, the feminists are going to take them over, and we're going to lose more rights. It will happen. It's happened before. It's happened in every single instance prior. So unless you men get off of your keisters and start getting involved, we're going to continue to be maintained as professional victims to the courts. So you men have got to get to work. Don't look at me and say, do something. I'm doing it. You're the one doing nothing because you're lazy. You're scared. Stop allowing fear to run your life. Stop it. Mm-hmm. There's nothing to be afraid of. If you allow it to run your life, then it becomes valid. If you say, you know what? I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of being told there's my pee blanket in the corner. As a man, I'm only a paycheck. Go over there and pee on the blanket. I'm tired of being treated like a second-class citizen. Mm-hmm. I built this country. I built these buildings. I built these bridges. I lay the groundwork for internet cables. I'm responsible for 99% of the patents in the world. I'm a man. I deserve to be proud of the fact I'm a man. Mm-hmm. How dare anybody make me feel less human because I'm a man? I didn't sit up in front of God and go, all right, Bill, come over here, buddy. What you want? You want to be a man or a woman? Well, I'm going to take the man cue. Make me be born, God, as a man. I didn't have that. I'll tell you what, God, I want to be born as a white man. I could choose. God chose that for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm stuck with it. We're veteran fathers. We're not black veteran fathers. We're not white veteran fathers. We're not orange or purple veteran fathers. We're not Chinese veteran fathers. We're not Indian veteran fathers. We're not American veteran fathers. We're not Canadian veteran fathers. We're not Irish veteran fathers. We're veteran fathers. We don't see color.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to someone in the military. Well, is he? We had this joke running around the Air Force one time. Well, what do you mean he's an airman? Yeah, he's a dark blue airman. He's a light blue airman. He's still an airman. He's a light green Marine. He's a dark green Marine. He's still a Marine.
Mm-hmm.
Veterans are veterans. We don't see color. All I care about is my buddy sitting next to me in the trench has got my back, is going to help me. If I get wounded or injured, he's going to pull me to safety and bandage my ass up. That's what veterans understand. Civvies don't understand that. They see color. You see bigotry. You see hatred because that's all you know.
Mm-hmm.
As a veteran, we don't see that. We're trained that way. So to look at me and go, well, he's a white guy leading it, you're a racist bigot.
Mm-hmm.
Veterans don't see colors. We're brothers and sisters. We don't see colors. You do because you're a racist bigot. And you might hate the fact I just called you out on that because you know that's what you've been thinking. That's your problem. You have a mental depravity. Please seek professional help.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're veteran fathers. We can go anywhere in the world. Every country on the planet has veterans.
You know, like, well, this is what I do, like when I'm out in public and I see some of these young people and I go up to them and say, do you know what a personality disorder is? I try to educate as much as I can on personality disorders. Do you get, when you get phone calls in from some of these people, do you try to educate them on that as well?
Usually when people contact me, women contact me too, as you very well know,
mm-hmm.
and look for help. I don't really care. I don't really look to see if they have personality disorder. I just try to figure out if they've been victimized by the courts.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I look at. So, like, we were working with a special operator out of Fort Bragg, still active duty. Literally called me up in tears. Sad case. His wife had already set him up with a couple of silver bullets. He had done everything military required him to get through it. He was a professional football star. I'm not going to tell you his name. Now he's a special operator, soon to be Green Beret. Stand-up guy, church religious man, but it was obvious his wife was after his child support and military benefits. Very obvious.
Mm-hmm.
Already started to alienate the kids from him. And he said, what can I do? And I said, she's going to do this, 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 and this. He goes, she's already done the first two. I was like, shit. This is you're on defense. I said, you have no choice. I said, tell me everything else that went on. For the next hour, he started telling me about the abuse she subjected him to in front of the kids, just like my ex did to me in front of my daughter. And I asked him, I said, did you record it?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yeah, I got it all recorded. Did you call the police? I did one time. I said, do you have an attorney? He said, not yet. I said, I'm going to refer you to an attorney. Here's what you tell that attorney. Here's what you insist. Subsequently, he's now filed criminal charges against his ex-wife. They've already been to 2 criminal proceedings. He's looking to get full custody of the child as well as a permanent protection order of the ex-wife from the children, because now there's been apparently instances that children have related to forensic psychiatrists of child abuse in the household when he wasn't there. That's a narcissist, people.
Mm-hmm.
That's a narcissist. That's how abusive a narcissist can be to children, because they know a child doesn't know any different. A child looks to a parent for love and kindness and warmth and protection. But when that parent now realizes that, as a narcissist they do, they'll start manipulating that child into an abuse architecture.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone to be professionally diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder, now to have primary, if not full custody of that child, is intentional abuse by the courts.
Oh, it is. Yes.
It's
Yeah, I try to go ahead.
No, it's intentional.
Right.
And the courts know it. There's a ton of research out there. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They're a breeding ground of personality disorders, much less
Yeah.
themselves being personality disorders. That's why I try to catch these young people and say, what do you know about personality disorders? Like, what do they know about them so they can avoid them?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's difficult. So I'm glad you brought that up. We started doing online what we call Inquisitor, #Inquisitor_ workshops. It's all based off of Inquisitor Ghost, was an online cosplayer, nice kid. I think he was out of the UK, maybe 24, 25 years old. They got false sexual assault allegations levied against him, all falsified. I've read parts of the dialogue that occurred. It looks like he got set up and he committed suicide. Now, he's dealing with two people who levied a false allegation. And you've seen the research, Marianne, so I'm just going to re-say it. People who levy false allegations, it's always directly tied back to a personality disorder, typically narcissistic personality disorder. So people that grow up like I did, nuclear family, nuclear household, you're going to do right. Even my ex-wife called me the sheriff. Like, you always trying to put people in jail. I'm like, they break the fucking law to go to jail. If I broke the fucking law, they'd line up to put my ass in jail. Why not? Why can't I get in the same line to put them in jail? That's how we grew up. I was a federal agent. You don't lie in court ever, unless you go to family court.
Right.
Let's go to family court. Unless you're a woman in family court, men will go. They've actually documented a case of man lies in family court, gets caught. The judge put his ass in county lockup. Women never get prosecuted for perjury on the stand. Never get prosecuted for contempt, violating court orders. Women can do it. You women can do it ambiguously, and the courts will never touch you. Men, I'm gonna warn you. You do it, they're gonna put you in the clink. So don't do it. It sucks. It's an improper administration of law. It's gender bias bigotry. I agree. That's multiple felony violations. You fund this, we'll fix that. All right. But don't do it, guys, because they're going to put you in jail.
Unless their wives work in the courthouse.
Oof. Oh, now, if you got someone that's working in the courthouse and they're tied up with your ex, you are screwed. You are screwed because they'll work underroom, backroom deals, which is against the law. It's a violation of federal law. And you're going to be screwed in your divorce case. You are done. You're smoked. Don't even spend any more money. Just deal with it. Take it over to civil and criminal court. Or better yet, get us funded. We'll train our own investigators. We'll start digging around through this stuff. We find violations of federal law. We'll call the FBI. They refuse to investigate it. We'll investigate it, assume in abject poverty, then develop the prosecutorial summaries. I'll stand in front of Chris Ray, the assistant United States attorney downtown, myself, and present him the prosecutorial summary and dare him not to prosecute. Because the day they won't take one of our cases into federal court for prosecution and indictment, sentencing, I'll step out of the courtroom in front of a bunch of microphones, and I'll say, time for you parents to riot. I can't get engaged in protests. It's in our bylaws. I can't do it. Doesn't mean other parents can't do it. So I said this at the beginning. Two things cause governments to change. Violent protests cause litigation. Women's suffrage became violent. They got changes in law. Civil rights became violent. Got changes in law. Black Lives Matter got violent, changes in law. Antifa, they started changing laws. Guess which one's happening now? Hamas. Watch changes in law start to happen. Changes in public sentiment start to happen. Violent protests work. What works more? Costly litigation. That's what we do. Costly litigation. Now, we take a case to federal court. They have what's called prosecutorial selection. They can take it or not take it. Okay. They can do that. They choose not to do it. I'll step out of the courtroom. I'll get an on-screen interview with CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, Fox News, doesn't matter. I know them all. I'll get an on-screen interview and I'll tell you parents, now you parents need to do something. Burn tires in the street of Atlanta, riot, form up thousands of people, block the roadways, do whatever you can, because until these courts start paying attention, they're not going to do anything. Until we start to get active, they're not going to do anything. So keep going your own way, your own little merry way, doing your own merry stuff, but look at what works. Do what works. Keep doing the same shit and expecting a different result, as Einstein said, is madness. It's insanity. What you're doing currently is not working. This model will work. We got the data and everything that supports it. Writing will work. That's historical facts and evidence. So do it. Now, am I encouraging violent riots? No. Nothing against saying go downtown, get your permits to have a peaceful riot, a peaceful protest, get all your signs together and have a protest. All you farmers drove all your tractors to Washington, D.C. to get laws changed. They listened to you. How about this? How about having the world's largest Father's Day weekend here in Atlanta? All you farmers drive your tractors here. You motorcycle clubs, let's get up your motorcycle clubs, show off your motorcycles. You car clubs, we got the largest BMW club in America right here in Atlanta, Peachtree BMW. Why don't you have all the BMWs in America come here and have a big united BMW club car show? All you old car clubs, get your cars out there. Let's flood these motorways full of fathers and their children. Carnivals come to town. What are we doing? We're bringing money and influence here to town. Right prior to a presidential election, you don't think that's going to send the next president a message? Start paying attention to parents and family court? I guarantee it will. I guarantee it will. You flood the city of Atlanta where you can't move. There's too many tractors, BMWs, motorcycles, veterans flags everywhere, veterans fathers flags everywhere. Guess what? They're going to start paying attention. They're going to go like, damn, what the hell did I not pay attention to? Guess what the next president's going to do? He's going to say, we got to fix family court. I'm going to appoint a presidential commission to fix family court. And I'm going to say, and I want oversight of private citizens to watch your special commission, because the lobbyists are going to worm their way in there. The legal lobbyists are going to worm little squirrely, slimy butts in there. I'll have them arrested. Get them out of here. Oh, you think you're going to put money into that senator's campaign to work against the special commission? We're going to find out about it. And we're going to ask for you to be sentenced and prosecuted. Unlawful, undue influence.
What about abolishing the family court? Just get it gone.
Oh, it's easily abolished, but it won't totally be abolished. Let me explain why. We're working on the framework of what we call Savannah's Law, named after my daughter and the city of Savannah, in which 50-50 custody mandatory and retroactive. Retroactive goes back to everybody in a divorce and everybody in a parental custody situation. If it's not honored, it's enforceable. In other words, work out the 50-50 custody agreement, who has what and when it happens. If that parent decides to alienate the child and not honor 50-50 custody, boom, they lose custody. The other parent gets full custody. Now, the parent that lost custody can't have monitored custody. And if they behave well under monitored custody with the other parent having full custody, they can go back into the system, apply in magistrate's court, a lower court, but still mandated evidentiary requirements, and saying, look, judge, I attended these meetings. I'm involved with my kid. I've become better. And have the other parent to come in there too. And say, yeah, she's really changed, or he's really changed. We'd like to go back to 50-50 in magistrate's court, not in family court, in magistrate's court, because you've got to submit evidence. Okay. And the magistrate's judge can say, yep, I agree. We're going back to 50-50. Now, both parents pay into child support. No alimony. Alimony goes away.
Yeah.
Both parents pay into child support a percentage of their income. So if it's 10%, 10% of each income, one parent might make $1 million a year. That's a big 10%. One parent might make $30,000 a year. It's still 10%. 10% is 10%. Pay into child support. Both get an EBT card. You can't put your rent, your car payment, your hair, your nails, auto repair, anything like that can't go on the EBT card. If parents says, well, I'll take them on vacation to see the beach, pay for it. Food, clothing, comes out of that. The kid's college fund gets paid out of that. The kid needs a car, it gets paid out of that. But both parents now every month exchange receipts. And both parents amateurize what's in there. Let's say one parent spent, I don't know, I pick on you dads. Let's say one parent took his EBT card. Well, because there's confines on it, he can't buy a gun. Let's just say he put, I don't know, what could a parent put on an EBT card? Let's say he just put something on it, a widget. The other parent says, that's not for the kid, that's for you. Put the money back in there. 30 days later, money didn't go back in there. Guess where you go? Magistrate's court. Your Honor, he put this on the EBT card. The EBT card accepted it, but that's not for the kid. That's for him. Judge going to look at that? Yep. Put the money in or I'm going to hold you in contempt and put you in the clink. Easy. It's in magistrate's court. You got to bring evidence. And it's a lower court. $10,000 or less goes to magistrate's court. Civil. Okay. Now let's talk about doing away with family court. Does that do away with family court? Not totally. And here's why. In cases of abuse, neglect, it's going to have to go through a family court type of process. But I'm saying administer the family court according to the law. In other words, you have to present evidence. That means false allegations go away. Go away. Now, with my false allegation, all 7 of the allegations, we had my attorney and I put together 2 4-inch binders of hard evidence where her attorney intentionally lied to the judge during an ex parte, which means she didn't have to be there, but her attorney showed up on her behalf. That's a violation of ex parte guidelines. That's now a civil claim against her attorney because her attorney did it once. She's done it multiple times. Okay. And we'll get her attorney eventually disbarred and sued in abject poverty. And every member of the firm that participated in that false ex parte be put on notice effectively now. Go ahead and delete those emails. Go ahead and delete those correspondence. I'll get them. And now I got evidence destruction, possibly witness tampering. Okay, go ahead. Do it. I want you to. I want you to cover this up as much as you can. Please. As a digital forensic examiner, I'm telling you, I'll still get it. You ain't hiding shit. Beat that up with a hammer. Do a Hillary Clinton on it. I dare you. Evidence tampering, witness tampering. You're going to federal penitentiary. Okay. And if you work there for that attorney, if I was you, I'd be sticking thumb drives in left and right and get my own copy to cover my own ass, make sure I don't get sued or go to prison. Boom. That's how you avoid prison. You turn state's evidence. Okay. Now, get an improper ex parte filing. The judge that was going to hear because when you get a temporary anything, now both parties show up to the judge. Judge goes, why do you think she filed this? Or why do you think he filed this? Well, I think he filed this to keep me away from the child. They're all false. Here's all the evidence it was false. The judge has to listen to this. By law, it's called due process. In my case, the judge literally told my attorney, and if he didn't, my attorney lied to me, you're going to prison. But I believe my attorney. Told my attorney, if he shows up here, let me tell you what's going to happen to him. I'm going to put an ankle bracelet on him. I'm going to take away his guns. He's not going to see his child. You two work it out. So she dropped it. It's still stuck on my record. Now, I was an executive with a company. What do you think they did? Fired my ass. Went to court. The judge says, I see no evidence you were fired. They're like, what the fuck are you talking about? You seen where I applied for workman's comp, or not workman's comp. You applied for unemployment benefits, which means if you quit, you can't get unemployment benefits. You can only get them if you were fired. Here's my unemployment checks. Here's my unemployment benefits. Here's a letter from the company. Here, what else more you need? I don't see reasonable evidence where you were fired. I think you quit to get a lesser paying job. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Judge David Dickinson, by the way, that's a violation of federal law. You're going to go to prison. Judge David Dickinson, Forsyth County Superior Court. You be put on notice. Go ahead and cover this up. Because here's how you identify a professional. A professional should look at it and said, oh, I really screwed this case up. I need to fix it. But they won't. They won't. So you parents that are thinking they're going to fix your case, they won't.
No, they won't.
And here's why. Nobody's holding them accountable.
No.
You fund us. These judges, attorneys, officers of court, I swear as I breathe my last breath, I'll put them in prison. I'll demand federal sentencing. Why federal sentencing? It's very easy. I can get a federal court to waive attorney-client privilege, which now means I get to see all the correspondence. I get to see all the SMS text messages. Oh, I think a good strategy for us, go ahead and levy a silver bullet against you. Oh, I think it's a good strategy too. What can you get me for evidence so I can file an ex parte? Boom.
Mm-hmm.
I can get a federal court to vacate judicial immunity. I can get a federal court to vacate partial or implied immunity for law enforcement officers. They showed up to my house. She called 911. I presented facts and evidence I had that she was having multiple affairs on me. She lost her shit, called 911, said I was being confrontational and abusive. I said, no, you're over 30 feet away. I recorded the whole thing when the police showed up. I said, I have a court order, places a child in my custody today. I showed up to pick up the child. I have not been around her. I have not been aggressive, nor have I had aggressive conversation with her. I recorded the whole thing. You know what the cops told me? Mr. Corbitt, if you can please just get in your car and leave. Just let the courts handle it. Because when police show up to domestic disturbance, that's the most violent time in which most cops get shot and killed. So they're in their black zone. They expect gunplay, they expect knife play, they expect physical violence. No, I was in the garage. She was inside. The police showed up and said, let me explain to you what's going on. Cops literally said, okay, I got your story. You found where she's had multiple affairs. You identified 2 of her lovers to her. She lost her shit. He went in and talked to her. That's what they do. They separate you two, get you 2 statements. Talk to her. He came back in our garage. You know what he said? Their statements match. Their statements match. Holy shit. She just admitted to a police officer she had multiple affairs. Their statements match. But the police went against a judge's court order. By the way, for you police officers of Forsyth County Deputy Sheriff's Department that showed up to my residence on April 19, 2019, got that date memorized. You violated court orders with violation of federal law. I'm going to put you in prison. If anything, it's sue you in abject poverty because you all are bitches. Mm-hmm. That's what we can do at Veteran Fathers. We can ensure the proper administration of law. We will hold law enforcement officers accountable to judicial writs. They violate them, they go to jail. Or we'll sue them into abject poverty. I'm going to get your bass boats. I'm going to get your vacation homes. Break up and sit down with a wife and say, we really screwed up and pissed off the wrong dude. Yeah, you did. And here's what's really disgusting. 2 of those officers showed up were vets.
Oh, yeah.
We're vets. Here's a clue, vets that are law enforcement. You don't ever come between a vet and his kid. You cross the line in the sand. You are now the enemy. Mm-hmm. You don't do that. And they did it. And they did it with reckless abandon and with willful intent. By the way, I just named the constructs of 4 federal laws they violated. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And am I passionate about it? Yeah. Would you want someone leading an organization to do what we do that's not passionate? Mm-hmm. That's not focused and determined? That doesn't have the discipline to work till 2 o'clock in the morning getting things done? I don't understand people. I really don't. They want it fixed, but they don't want to do nothing. And then when we have something that will get it fixed, oh, I wouldn't do it that way. I wouldn't say what he wanted to say. Well, in actuality, you're a narcissist. Because what does the narcissist do? Another trait narcissist always finds fault without a solution. Mm-hmm. You may need professional help, maybe even psychotropic medications. You may want to institutionalize yourself for future study. I mean, it's harsh words, but they need to be said. Parents need to have a very hard conversations with themselves. And it's like when you first heard of me and we started talking, you're like, I don't know what to expect out of this guy. And you started talking to me, you're like, he's actually pretty damn sane. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And he really wants to help parents that have been wronged by the courts.
And I like that you have solutions.
It's definable and it's measurable and we can duplicate it. A total success model. Mm-hmm. Look at everything we've been doing. Hasn't been working. But you keep doing it. Why? Because you're insane. Mm-hmm. Einstein even said it. Keep doing the same thing, expect a different result. Not getting a different result, but keep doing it is a sign of insanity. You're cray-cray.
Right.
All right, now that you know you're cray-cray, how do you stop it? Stop doing crazy shit. Start
Right.
doing something that's new and innovative, that has a clearly defined mission and goal, that's measurable and definable and achievable, that's duplicatable. Those are all the criteria of a massive success organization. We have it right here.
And you just need funding.
We just need funding. So, well, Bill, reach out to your multimillionaires. You know, we will be. We're going to be approaching private foundations. We will be. Approach the government. The government's not going to fund us.
Mm.
Why? Why would the government fund something that is designed to sue government? I mean, that's kind of counterproductive. But we're going to do more with that money than just lawsuits. For instance, we got Daddy's House. It's in our link tree. You go down and find Daddy's House. What is Daddy's House? Hopefully, you're going to be the third domestic violence shelter for men and fathers in America.
Mm-hmm.
I've already approached people that I know at state government here in Georgia. They said, yeah, we'll position the bill on the House floor, but the feminists will crush it. It won't get past that. It won't get off the floor. We won't get funding. You're going to need to privately fund this. And why is private funding so important? Because now they can't tell us what to do with the fucking money.
Mm-hmm.
We can get up and we can fund it. We can help dads. We can help children. When they show up, we can give them clothing, food, shelter, moral support, legal support. We can help them get into counseling. We can help heal these fathers.
Mm-hmm.
And look at the national statistics. Homes without fathers. Guess what happened to the children? My daughter, without me being active in her life and forcing myself in her life, her mother's been still trying to alienate me from my daughter. Okay? Mm-hmm. When she registered for her for school, refused to put me on the paperwork. I had to go in and threaten a lawsuit against the Forsyth County school system. And if it wasn't for a good, an amazing principal who jumped up from the table and said, Mr. Corbitt, I will fix this now. Miss Castleberry Dr. Castleberry jumped up and said, you're not on any of the paperwork. I got your divorce paperwork. You're a father in good standing with the courts. Why would the mother of your child not put you on that paperwork? Parental alienation, people.
Yes.
She did it intentionally with willful intent and malice aforethought to alienate me out of my daughter's life.
Mm-hmm.
When you're dealing with a narcissist, you're dealing with an abuser. And she has already been medically identified with a mental health professional with narcissistic personality disorder. And if you mothers listening to this, if your guts, you're not sick already of hearing this, you're also not doing anything. You got to fix these courts.
Mm-hmm.
No one's holding them accountable. I listen to your story and I get sick.
Oh.
I hear stories about this all the time. I talk guns out of fathers' mouths, and I'm not a professional. It takes the last gun I talked out of a father's mouth. It took me 3 days to recover. Why? Because I relived my own attempted suicide. Mm. That's tough.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you had a father that killed a judge.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Family court. I did a case study on it's called Express 705. I published a video on this. It's a well-documented case of attempted air piracy, attempted air hijacking. Why did a father want to hijack a FedEx jumbo jet DC-10, crash it, so that his family could get his life insurance, because a family court drove him to it? Why do these fathers commit suicide? Family court. Father jumped off the fifth floor parking deck at Disneyland, killed himself. In his suicide note, he said, I did it because of family court. According to the law, the judges, attorneys, and officers of the court who were part of these fathers' divorce should be held under homicide charges. Because if I influenced you through cyberbullying, Marianne, and you committed suicide, they can now bring manslaughter charges against me. But family courts, judges, attorneys, officers of the court drive these parents to kill kids and themselves, and are not held to manslaughter charges, but they can hold a private citizen to manslaughter charges. The law's not written that way, people. The law is written. It says, oh, wait a minute, you meet the criteria, we're going to bring you up on manslaughter charges. You fund us, we'll bring these judges, officers, and officers of the court under manslaughter charges. Guaranteed, because the laws apply to them just like they apply to us. Mm-hmm. We'll get judicial immunity waived. We'll get partial and implied immunity waived, and we'll bring them all into a court of law to face criminal charges. Only private citizens can do this. DOJ is not going to help you. FBI doesn't give a damn.
Mhm.
ACLU couldn't care if you died tomorrow. You think UN's going to come in with their investigative arm and drag these people in front of the Hague for human rights violations? You are delusional. You need professional help. Get on medication and get professional help, please.
Mm-hmm.
Time to parents grow up and realize everything you've been doing is a failure because nothing's changed. Give us a shot. That's all I'm asking for. Help us get the funding we need. You give me the gas in my tank, I'll drive this tank column right down the throats of DOJ. And nothing will stop us. Nothing. I'm on a mission from God. No
Mm-hmm.
doubt in my mind. Why did God put me here? I didn't want to be here. And all my career goals, this is not where I wanted to be. I never wanted to be here.
Yeah. Here we are. I'm so glad I had you on. And I encourage everyone to fund you. How can they fund you? Where do they go to reach you?
The best place is to go to Linktree. It's linktr.ee/veteran fathers, VETERAN fathers, plural. And then all the links are there. Link to our website, link to our funding or donation, link to Daddy's House. You want to donate Daddy's House, donate Daddy's House. It's all right there. It's easy peasy. If you want to run a fundraiser, you can get it linked in through Give, Fund, Go. Okay. Run your fundraiser, connect with Give, Fund, Go. The money will go through your fundraiser, Give, Fund, Go, and come over to us. Okay. Corporate donations, we're listed on every corporate donation site where you can do matching funds donations. Get it listed within your company. Campaign it within your company. If you need us to do up flyers, contact us. We'll help build a flyer for you, and we'll get it over to you. Okay, so you can print it and hang it up on the walls in your companies. Companies have these funding campaigns run annually. You can get them all listed. Like I said, we almost got in this year to a Fortune 5 company. Next year we'll be listed, and they're going to campaign for us heavy within a Fortune 5 company. That means we passed all the criteria. We passed all the sniff tests. There's no more excuses out there. There's no excuse outside of the fact you're lazy. You just don't want to. You're so beat up. You're so scared. That's why I'm in front. That's why Veteran Fathers is in front. If you're so scared, help us with funding. We'll fight the fight. We'll take all the criticism. We'll take all the personal abuse. I'm ready for it. But get us in the fight. Get us on the battlefield. Get us on that football field. That's all we need is gas in my tanks. Food on the plates for my soldiers. Let's go. We're ready. The army's been built.
Yeah. People have to just step it up here and don't be afraid. Please, fund Veterans Fathers.
And if anything, volunteer. Get a hold of us. Say, I looked at your volunteers. I don't have any of those skill sets, but here's what I'm good at. I feel like one lady volunteered with us. She runs a marketing. She has her own marketing company. She said, you know what? I heard one of your podcasts. I've never heard anybody as passionate as you about this. And I've been looking for volunteer efforts to do for nonprofits. I'll volunteer my time and my marketing company to help you. Think about it. That's all you have to do. I don't care if you run a record service. You know what? I run a record service. I don't have the IT skills. How can I help? Well, get some flyers. When you pick up someone, here, hand them a flyer. Here, if you can help them, this is a nonprofit we support. We'd appreciate it if you could donate something there. Get a hold of them. Pass a flyer around. Because I guarantee you're going to interface with someone who had a bad dealings in family court. Yeah, here's a flyer. Here's a little handout. Go in and go talk to them. That's all you have to do. Just do something. Yes,
I agree with you. I'm going to have you back on again, but don't jump off though, okay? Slam the Gavel, a podcast help the public understand what really goes on in these family courtrooms. I am your host, Marianne Petrie, author of Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, and Cry Out for Justice, Poems of Truth, and Raised by These Wolves, How Family and Federal Courts Are Failing Our Children. And join us again in the future with Bill Corbitt and other exciting guests. You can find me on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, Apple iTunes, YouTube, and feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep the podcast going. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Marianne. It's a great pleasure being here, and thank you for the honor.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for serving.
You're welcome.